Connecting.
Okay.
And we should be live. We should be getting ready to go live in just a moment. We got to go up here. Did you lower your seat? We got to go here. We got to enable chat. Done.
Do you want to tell them?
And we are live. All right. So, welcome to week 3. Is it week 3?
Week 3, yep.
Finish the Marriage
week 3.
Small Group. The Finish the Marriage Small Group. Gonna give everybody a chance to get on here. Let's see, I'm gonna type a little message. Roll call. When everybody's on, just say, hey, I'm on. And I bet that they're looking for the link.
Oh, you didn't put the link.
So
okay.
what I'll do is go right here. I didn't send you the link to put on Facebook.
Okay.
What's called Finish the Marriage, and tonight's group is live. Publish. Here we go. Publish. There we are.
Okay, so now they can click on it.
Now you can get there. And we're going to see what's happening here. All right. Roll call. Michael said he's here.
Okay.
He's here. Does that mean here and your wife is here with you? Is she watching together? Are y'all together? Say here +1 if that's the case. Did I put that on Finish the Marriage, or I just put it on? Our marriage group
It's starting now.
starts now. Not. Online. Here we go. Oh, crap. You know, the hardest thing is remembering that you're online. You're online. There we are. Rhonda's here. She is trying to sign in for chat.
Okay.
Why, you can't type her messages for her? Hey.
Hey.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Rhonda's here. Michael's here. All right. We'll give a couple more minutes. I know Hannah and Chad are on the way. The Tileys are here. Riley's. The Riley Tileys. Chad needs prayer tonight. And Michael says he can't type her questions. All right. If the audio's good, give me a yes, the audio's good. And we're just going to assume that
Her.
it is her. Hey.
If y'all are thinking, man, Beth looks tired, it's because I am tired.
That's because she's tired.
It's because I've been battling the lice for 2 days.
This is clearly true. She's battling the lice. That's a true statement.
Most of my kids had the lice.
It's true. It's true. It's been an eventful weekend,
Very,
to say the least.
very eventful.
Great day at church today if you were at Revive Church. And I realize that some of you may be watching online at a later time. We're excited that you've done that. Chad needs prayer because of the song he's been singing, Hannah. That's why, the song he's been singing to me. Maybe we'll get him to share it with everybody later sometime. But so we should get started.
Yep.
Let's dive right in. It's just after 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. This is really cool. I'm enjoying this group. You enjoying the group, babe?
Yeah, it's been good.
Cool.
There has not been a lot of planning into this group, just so you know. So this is kind of...
You should speak for yourself. I've planned quite a bit for this group. Those homework assignments didn't just write themselves.
No, it's been kind of impromptu, so it's not a whole lot of...
Yeah, we are putting
this
it
is not
together.
Scripted.
No, it's not script. So if you're watching this, we didn't script this. We're not reading from a teleprompter and trying to figure it out. So as we go, because we want to meet your needs. And it is our desire, if you're just tuning in for the first time, it's our desire and it's our hope that we would someday build a online platform that would provide marriage mentoring, marriage coaching, marriage school, kind of like a marriage college, right? To help people get the most out of their marriage. That's our desire. So just to kind of recap real quickly, I'm Jeff, this is Beth, and we started a ministry called Finish the Marriage. We pastor a church in Durham, North Carolina. And this is a small group as part of our church, and we had 30 people view last week through the week. So that's pretty cool. We hope you're one of them viewing again. Hope you enjoyed it. We apologize for the very first week. Our audio was terrible. But it's fixed, it's correct, and it's working a lot better now. Right?
Okay.
So last week we talked about communication. Right?
Right. And we got some really good feedback on that.
Tons of feedback on the topic of communication. And the flow each week is going to be, we're going to recap the homework. And if you're watching this and you want the homework assignments, go to finishthemarriage.com, or not finishthemarriage.com, go to the Finish the Marriage Facebook page, and it's there. You can also email Beth@revolvechurch.com, and you'll fire the homework over to them, right? It's simple homework. It requires a little bit of reading and some discussion and some talking. This homework this week's going to be a little bit more involved, not more homework, but you're going to have to participate with one another. All right? So what we want to do is the first thing that we're going to do is dive into the homework that you guys sent. Week 2 was biblical understanding of communication in the marriage. And the passage that we sent out for everyone to read was Proverbs 15, verse 23. You want to read that, Beth?
Is that it right there?
That's it right here. Yep.
Everyone enjoys a fitting reply. It is wonderful to say the right thing at the right time.
If it's wonderful to say the right thing at the right time, what do you think it is to say the right thing at the wrong time? Or even the wrong thing at the right time, right? Yeah. Is there even a right time to say the wrong thing?
No, never.
Probably not. So the question we ask, and Beth and I we're just going to kind of go from the cuff here. Have you ever said the wrong thing at the wrong time?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure, like in arguments, but
not just with me, with anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. The one that comes to mind the most for me is the time that you called the lady big.
Yeah, that's true. That was totally an accident. There was a lady that has a child that looks just like her, and you have like a junior, and let's just say her name was Jessica for the sake of that, and I said, hey, I've named your daughter LJ for little Jessica, and I guess that means I'll call you BJ for Big J. And as it came out, I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever said.
It was dumb.
It was so stupid. And how do you think that made me feel?
Stupid.
Terrible and stupid and dumb. And how do you think the other person might have felt?
Well, she said she was going to think about forgiving you.
Yeah, I even asked her to forgive me. Text her that night and said, I'm so sorry. I did not mean that. And she said she needed to think about it. So I think she was probably mad that my filter wasn't stronger or faster. Right? Mm-hmm. What about on the reverse side? Has anybody ever said the perfect thing that you needed them to say to you at the right, exact time? Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel accepted, I think is probably the best word.
Yeah, and that's happened to me before, and it made me feel like that I was thought of. Mm-hmm. Like that somebody was actually thinking about me outside of me thinking about me, right?
Right.
So that's really cool. So let's take a look at one of the things we asked was, what are 2 or 3 practical steps you could take to improve your chances? And now we're talking about in the marriage of saying the right thing at the right time. Because here's what we want to help you do. Be communicators, good communicators in the marriage, effective communicators. You could communicate a whole lot, but that doesn't make you a good communicator.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
Does that make sense?
You say a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, you say a whole lot of nothing. Mm-hmm. You experienced that before, have you? Have you? Sometimes you wonder if your husband likes just talk to hear himself talk, don't you? Is that what you're trying to say? No. Right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a look at this homework.
You're not going to say who it is.
I'm not. No. I said I wasn't going to say it. One response I got was, I can think about my responses before I give them. Evaluate my situation before giving my response will also help with saying the right thing at the right time. And that's a great answer. I don't want to push in on that answer. If you wrote an answer similar to that, or that's your answer, then here's the question: how do you know? How do you evaluate what you're going to say? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think? Like, how would you say?
Especially like on Facebook posts, Jeff is really bad about sometimes like just going right to the line, like where he's not really crossing over the line, but he's getting close to it. And I do it occasionally, with some of my posts. But if you really have to question yourself about it, it's better to just leave it unsaid.
Yeah. So if you even got to ask yourself if you should say it. So in your evaluation process, if it's even a thought as to whether you should or shouldn't say it, then you probably shouldn't.
Say it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think when communicating, like verbally communicating, I think it's important that you do pause before you respond. But you need to let the other person know. Like a lot of times I'll say to Jeff, I want to make sure that I say this right.
Yeah.
Or I want to make sure that you hear this right.
Exactly.
So I think just taking a moment and slowing down your speech, because a lot of times, especially in like a heated moment, you're trying to talk over each other and you're just trying to get the words out as fast as you can.
That's true.
That is not productive.
That's very true.
I think just really slowing down and thinking about what you're saying, but also communicating that with the other person that's what you're doing. You are thinking it through, and you're coming up with a way to say it that it doesn't sound aggressive.
I totally agree. So that's a good thing. I think you should evaluate and slow down a little bit. Here's another answer that we got to that question. Let me see. What are 2 or 3 practical steps you could take to improve your chance of saying the right thing? I need to be slow to respond. I need to make sure that I'm truly listening to the person that I'm talking to. And I like that. I like that input there, because you didn't say you need to be sure that they're listening to what you're saying, but you're actually listening to who you're talking to. That's the form of communication. Because if you're just talking and not listening, then it's monologue, not dialogue. And dialogue is true communication. That's a great insight there, to be sure that you're listening. So, all right, let's take a look. To improve my chances, say the right thing. Stop thinking about what I want, think and feel so much, and think about how the other person feels. Oh man, that's golden right here. Yeah. This is so golden. Like, consider the thoughts of the feelings, not the thoughts, the feelings of the other person.
Yeah.
Before you say anything.
Yeah, because especially in like today's society, we get so wrapped up in the way that things make us feel that often we forget how it makes the other person feel. Right.
And we don't know how they're, like, I think we talk so fast that we don't even consider how they're feeling.
We just want to be right.
We just want to be right.
Yeah.
We want to be right, not effective. Well, you could write that down if you're taking notes. Like, in my communication with my spouse, I'm going to strive this week to be more effective than I am right. Yeah. That'd be really good for your note takers and your tweeters and your Instagram, Facebook people to write that and be like, I learned in my small group to be effective in communicating, not right when it comes to communicating. Here's the second thing to that answer. Get a full understanding of the situation before I say anything.
Yeah, that's good. When I read that, I thought that's really good, because a lot of times we don't know what's going on and we respond without getting the full story.
That's so true. And when we don't have the full story, you know what we do? We make assumptions. Right? We make assumptions. All right, let's take a look at another one here. Let me take a look at another one here. Silence. Make sure that you understand before saying a word. Very, very similar answer here. Okay, that's good. Those are really... Huh?
Yeah, I put that one at the top.
Oh, you did? You put that one at the top. So I wanted to say a couple things about that question, about 2 or 3 practical steps you can take to improve your chances of saying the right thing. And I want to make sure that you hear me. These were very good answers. So I want to say 2 things, and maybe if you got anything to add, if not, we'll move along. The first thing I want to say is that if you're unsure whether or not you said it or they understood you, what you said, say it again. Like, don't assume that you said it if you can't really remember if you said it or not. Say it again. Say it again and again. I'd rather hear Beth say, "You've already told me that," than "You never told me that," right? The second thing, when it comes to saying the right thing is not limited to responding. It can also be initiating. So it's not necessarily just in responding to something somebody said. It could be when you come in from a day of work or and you notice. You ever had that feeling where you notice your spouse is down and or just not clicking? You notice your spouse has been dealing with the flies, with the flies all week or all day.
No, we didn't have any flies. We just had
We
lice.
just had lice. But you could say something. That would be a good time. I'll give you an example of a time recently that I think I said the right thing at the right time. I don't even remember who was sick. Someone was sick, and it was a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago maybe, and Beth stayed home with the kids because they were sick.
Jacob, yeah.
It was Jacob.
Month
Jacob
ago,
was
yeah.
sick. And I got to church, and man, it was just a great day at church. Man, everything was just kind of feeling good, and it was nice. And I was in worship, and I missed Beth. She wasn't there. And so I sent her a text. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. And I just said, I appreciate you taking care of the kids. Because you're taking care of the kids, I'm able to be here. And I was trying to initiate the right thing at the right time in that moment. So it's not always limited, not necessarily limited to a response, right? What else do you want to say about that, Beth, about practical steps?
We can move on.
We can move along to the next homework assignment, which was actually a blog. This was a blog that we got off the internet. We shared it with everybody, and
it was the principles.
There were 5 principles, exactly. Communication tools that saved my marriage. I'm going to read them. The principle of first response. The course of a conflict is not determined by the person who initiates, but by the person who responds. Think about that. It's the response sometimes that starts the course of a conflict. Right. The second one is the principle of physical touch. I talked a little bit about this. It's difficult to sin against someone while you're tenderly touching him or her. Right? And then the third one is the principle of proper timing. The success of a conversation can be maximized if the timing is carefully chosen. You want to be effective in communicating, you should choose times to talk about certain topics. Correct? Number 4, principle of mirroring. Understanding can be enhanced if we measure it often throughout a conversation.
That's good, yeah.
That's a very, very good one. Proverbs 22 there says, "Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise and apply your mind to my knowledge." And the 5th one was the principle of prayer. Success in communication is more likely when we invite God to be an active participant and guide. Okay, so we asked some questions here. Which of the 5 principles stand out to you the most, and why? Here's one of the answers I got. Principle number 1, because I'm usually quick and eager to respond. Seldom do I wait or do I think about what I'm going to say or even how I'm going to say it.
That's
right?
good.
And I think just to touch in on that, man, like especially what you're going to say may be exactly what needs to be said.
But a lot of it's the tone.
But how you say it
Yeah.
can really influence the way it's heard from the other person. The physical touch principle is stuck out to you the most, and it's definitely true. We've seen it work, but if I get mad enough, it doesn't work. That's true. If you get mad enough, it doesn't work. Like, that's true. Like, the conflict can be so big, right? What do you want to say about that?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had something to say about the physical touch and being mad enough. Oh, okay. I want to give you a chance to talk. The principle that stands out to me the most is the principle of physical touch, because even though the physical touch is a love language of mine, it's the first thing that I withdraw from when things get tough or I get upset. I roll away, lie with my back, and that is interesting. That's the one that stands out. And what's interesting to me about this one is that we withhold what we love the most from our spouse when we're upset in this principle. And it reminds me of the forgiveness statement that I said last week. It's like setting yourself on fire, hoping your spouse will die from smoke inhalation.
Yeah, look, that is so true because, like what this person said, because if I'm frustrated at you, at Jeff, a lot of times because acts of service is my first love language.
Yeah.
His clothes, when I'm folding them, if I am folding them whenever I'm mad, it looks like they are just balled up.
It does. It does. You can tell. So I can take a snapshot of my underwear drawer and you can tell if we're getting along or not.
No, you put them up, so.
I do. All right. Which of the one? Principle 2 stood out to me because after reading I realized that when I get mad, I won't let him hold my hand. I won't sit beside him. So physical touch, man, it's another one
That is a
again.
big
If
one,
I'm in a
yeah.
bad mood, I don't want to be near or touch anyone. And thinking it through when we are touching, it is hard to be mad or even stay mad. I'm telling you, there's truth in this. It's hard if you're physically touching one another to sin against them or to be upset with them. That's really, really, really good. And yep, that was it. That was a separate one right there. And then I asked to share a time that poor or unclear communication might have caused conflict in a personal relationship. This is not limited to your spouse, but this could be with any relationship. Have you got one right now that you could think of?
A
Poor communication that causes conflict in a personal relationship.
Yeah, keep reading. Let me think about that.
Okay, I got a couple of good stories in this one. A few months after we got married, a close friend of mine mailed us a wedding present. We were still in the process of writing thank you notes. Emailed me. She asked if I'd received her gift because she hadn't got a thank you note yet. And I interpreted the tone and the way she wrote her question as she was angry because she hadn't gotten her thank you yet. It was not written in a way that she was only checking to make sure she received it. Since we lived so far, instead of calling each other, we couldn't really meet face to face. The same time, she wasn't wanting to hear it and starting getting more argumentative in her language. We both said things that hurt each other. Things were taken out of context. Then things were brought into the conversation that had nothing to do with the initial topic. How many times does this happen in the marriage? The start of the argument is not even close to where you end. And through this miscommunication, having spoken since the last email, friendship that was extremely close was broken with no sign of ever being repaired due to poor communication. We should have spoken on the phone rather than email. Still hurts. Unclear communication.
Yeah, and I think I had somebody in my life, several years ago, and when I had Ella and I went into labor with her, I didn't notify this person, and I think that a lack of communication, where they thought that they were maybe entitled to some communication, that I just really honestly didn't think that they cared enough to even know, that I was in labor, and that definitely caused a conflict in that relationship.
Yes.
So.
Man, and it does.
Right.
Poor communication. One of the poorest communications is no communication. Like, we think that shutting off communication will solve the problems, but it actually makes it worse. I'm reading about this one here. A long time ago, the marriage was really bad, and my spouse thought everything was fine. Everything wasn't fine. I was hurt. I was disappointed. However, hurt and disappointed that my spouse had not planned anything special for my birthday. And the problem was I had not communicated to him how I felt about wanting him to do something special for me. I just expected it to happen when it never did. I figured he didn't love me, didn't care, and I was done. And once we talked about it, we got full understanding of the situation. Now he asked me what I want to do. And I want to say, go ahead. You're about to take a breath.
Go ahead.
Sometimes, man, poor communication or unclear communication between people that we love and care about. Listen to me. Poor and unclear communication between you and somebody that you love and care about will cause you to self-communicate to yourself. You will start communicating things to yourself that are not true. They are far, far, far from the truth. What were you going to say?
I was just going to talk about the unmet expectation, the uncommunicated expectation.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we have those expectations that the other person has no clue.
No idea that that's what you expected.
Right.
Or that's what they should be doing for you. They have no clue. And that's a great story of how, that you've been able to navigate that. And I think it's important. And hopefully if you're watching this and you're in a place like that right now, that you will take a moment to clearly communicate. Don't run out. Don't leave. Don't get mad. Don't make some irrational decision. Man, set an appointment to sit down and have some clear communication with your spouse about how you feel and what's hurting you and what's bothering you. All right, so let's see. Set boundaries before a conversation that we know may get heated. We don't fully understand and we misinterpret each other. So it's totally taken, everything you said was taken out of context. And ask. I love this part. Ask. I like to call it the listener talker exchanges, where you say something and then you say, what did you hear me say? And have them say it back. Did you understand it? And if they didn't, say, no, it's not what I said. Because sometimes you'll say something and they hear something different.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And let me see. Communicating my schedule. It has always been tough for me. And that's important. Openly communicating your schedule, where you're going to be.
It's hard for me too.
For you.
Yeah, it's
very hard for Beth. Yeah. Beth doesn't tell anybody her schedule. She just thinks everybody knows.
No, I just think that it doesn't affect anybody else.
Right. But it does.
I know.
Big time, right?
Sometimes. Okay.
What are 2 or 3 steps that you can take to improve your communication? Not going to go through your answers on this part, but what would you say? 2 or 3 steps we could tell people.
To improve your communication with your spouse, I think assume that they don't know.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, assume that they don't know.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna write that down.
And I think writing it down.
Oh, let's see. Because I said I'm gonna write it.
No, I think because that's what you do. You write it. I think writing it down. Like if you need them to know something, don't just say it to them, but write it down as well. That's
really good. That's really good.
What do you think?
I think say it, man. Again, and I struggle with this. Not necessarily as much in my relationship with you or at home, but like in my life in the ministry world. Like I hear this more than anything. Well, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know, and I'm thinking, I didn't either, really, to be honest with you.
So assume that they know.
So assume they don't know. It's that's a great principle. Mm-hmm. I don't have anything to add on that. So that was the homework on communication. Mm-hmm. And I hope it's been beneficial to you. I hope you'll keep your homework and the principles that you wrote down and the things that you jotted down in your homework, man, apply those things. Really, really press in and apply them. Today's topic is actually intimacy. It's Beth's favorite topic. She loves talking about this. That's why we have 4 kids, It's because of that. I want to start off the topic tonight, intimacy. Before I let Beth do a little bit of talking, I want to do this. I want to say this about intimacy. Intimacy is to bring closeness between the spouse. Intimacy and sex are not the same thing. Sexual behavior between you and your spouse is for reproducing and for sexual pleasure. Intimacy is for closeness. Mm-hmm. Sex will bring closeness, but intimacy is not limited to sex. It's way beyond that wall, right?
Right.
So enlighten us a little bit about some intimacy.
Okay, so I was going to go through quickly the 5 types of intimacy. The first one is emotional intimacy, and that is basically closeness through sharing your thoughts, your desires, and your feelings. And then I was going to kind of give some examples of this, and Jeff can charm in at any time, but you have to get creative. I think it's important, especially like today with all the technology, to maybe set some technology-free time. Like we do our dinner table, we don't allow any electronics at the dinner table. Every now and then that kind of gets bypassed, but as a rule of thumb, it's just no electronics while we're eating. And we even have that time together, not just for me and Jeff, but as our family.
Yes.
Most nights we eat together as a family. Intellectual is setting goals and values for your family. This is like it can be financial goals, it can be like character goals and just values, but I think like you can read a book together, you can even plan a vacation together, you can, whatever it is, whatever you're going through in your life, but I think it's important that you have some of those goals. One thing that we do, I think, that is part of this is our dates with our kids.
Yeah.
I think because, that is, we are doing it for a purpose. We're not just doing it because we don't have anything else to do on Tuesday or Thursday nights. We're doing it because we want to set values in our children.
That's true. And we're demonstrating to them what our date looks like. So there's a time that Beth and I date each other, and see, they're starting to realize that this isn't, and they're telling their brother and sister, like, this is off limits, man. I've got dad or I've got mom, and we may be doing intellectual stuff. We may be reading. Sometimes I read with my kids, but we're setting boundaries there that nobody else can get in. And then when we're together, it says that. So go ahead.
Yeah. Spiritual, I think you need to share, what God's speaking to you, share your beliefs, pray, go to church together, what you're believing God for. One thing that, that I've been praying for is like growth in our church, both physically with people and also financial growth. And I've been telling Jeff that each week, okay, this is what we're believing God for. And it seems like just about every, like, what I'm asking God for, he's meeting it or exceeding it every single week. So, I think that is important.
And that's very important. And I want to give you like something real quickly, practically, that you could do as a couple. You don't have to do this, but if you're not doing anything spiritually together, sharing beliefs, praying together, something that really, not serving in the church together, not participating in the small group, but something really enhancing your spiritual life. Beth and I talk about the scriptures, not as much as you probably would think that a pastor and his wife would talk about it, but we do. Man, I'll help you if you want it. This will not be part of the homework. If you want it, let me know that you want it. I'll give you 7 or 8 common questions that you could ask one another. Just pick a passage once a week, 3 or 4 verses, a parable, something, and just ask those questions and talk about it with each other. Matter of fact, the biblical lesson this coming up week around having a biblical understanding of intimacy, this is going to be an example of that. So you're going to do this together, and you're going to have spiritual intimacy through doing it.
Yeah, but I do think it's important that you let each other know what you're believing God for. So, recreational. So do things together. Do things that make you happy. Jeff and I, we like to go to lunch together. We like to take hikes together. With our kids, we like to go to museums.
Yes.
It's just, different things. But whatever you enjoy doing, our family enjoys camping. I don't enjoy it so much as my boys, but because they love it, I'm going to make the sacrifice and do it. So, and that's going to draw intimacy not only with me and Jeff, but with our children, because we are doing what they love and they value that and honor that. So. And
I really do. Beth does. She does. I don't bother her anymore with it, but I go to the YMCA 4 days a week, and sometimes a day or 2 more. But I used to ask her to go every day, but now if I can get 2 or 3 out of her a month, but it really means a lot to me when she does go. And I think we do those things together. Recreational intimacy is good.
Yep. And then, of course, the physical. I was going to say on recreational, you have to schedule it. You've got to make sure.
You do.
If you don't schedule it, it will not get done. You won't have any. Yeah. But the 5th one is physical. And no, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about holding hands.
But it could be.
It could be. Kiss, touch. And one thing that when I was researching this, one couple said that they made a game out of holding hands as much as possible. Like every chance that they that they held hands. So like out in public or in the house, if they were close, they held hands. Now when we're out in public and we have our kids, we're usually wrestling kids, so it's not possible. But one thing that Jeff has done this year is a kiss selfie every day. What are you calling it?
Selfie. We're just taking a selfie kissing each other every day.
Yeah, so that's a part of physical intimacy.
And so I'm forcing myself. I have a reminder on my phone that says take a selfie. Mm-hmm. It shows up on all of my computers. Mm-hmm. My kids will be on the computer and say, "Have you taken your selfie?" Yeah. but it's forcing us to be physically touching every single day, just for a moment. Yeah. And I got big plans. So just to recap, 5 types of intimacy. There's emotional, there's intellectual, there's spiritual, there's recreational, and there's physical. So I would challenge you to write those down and pick 1 or 2 of them and work on that this week and next week and in a while. And were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, choose one, but make sure that you do the spiritual.
I think it's important.
Yeah, because I think that you could do all of the other ones and miss the spiritual one, and you're not going to get the full effect if you miss the spiritual one.
Right.
That's just my opinion, and that's my suggestion. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So, here's the truth about intimacy. It brings closeness, and something that all of us need as spouses are closeness with one another. We need this. So, when you're being intimate with your spouse, remember that it's bringing them close to you as much as it is bringing you close to them. Right? Does that make sense?
Right. And you may be asking so what happens when you have a spouse that doesn't want to participate, or they're just not as involved? They're just not about it. And some of you are married to people that are not even Christians. And, you may be sitting there thinking, okay, I'm screwed in this whole process because he or she doesn't even believe in God. And, what am I supposed to do here? And this is what I tell women. I don't ever mentor men that are going through this, but I do mentor a lot of women that are going through this. And the very first resource that I ask them to get is The Power of a Praying Wife. And the reason, it's a book by Stormy, what's her last name? Osmond.
Yes, I know you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that I tell them to do, and it's because it gives you scriptures to pray for your husband. But I don't really know that. I do know that prayer changes things, but I don't know if it's really what the prayer changes that matters as much as how the prayer changes you.
Oh, right.
So it's less about your spouse and more about you. So you still need to do what God's called you to do, even if your spouse isn't doing what they're supposed to do. So especially if your spouse is a non-believer, then that even puts the pressure on you more to be that godly example. That's really
good. I think you can be intimate with your spouse, even if they're a non-believer. And you just remember, I've been preaching on this at Revive Church for the last few weeks. This is how they'll know that Jesus is your Lord, by the way you love them. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to force Jesus on them, but you can force physical intimacy, do things they want to do, spiritual intimacy, pray for them. If they don't want to pray and they're not believers, don't pray with them, pray for them.
And even just the facts, or the fact is, this might not be for every case, but it's for most of them. The women that are married to the non-believer, their husband is not happy in some component of their life. Because we all know that joy comes from Jesus, and when there's no Jesus, there's no joy. So
that's good.
There's always something going on in their life. So I think it's important that you tell them, well, I'm praying about your job situation.
Yeah.
Or, I'm praying that this works out for you. I think it's a consistent reminder of, even though you don't believe this, I believe this, and therefore I'm praying for you.
Yes. I think that's very good. So this pretty much concludes our lesson on intimacy in the marriage. The biggest thing you need to take away from this tonight is that we need this. We need this. You have some more about intimacy.
I have a whole half of a page here.
Did you want to share it?
We don't have to.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to dismiss, but I didn't realize you had a whole nother page of
No,
notes
it's not
here.
a page. I just wrote.
That's really
on
not.
it.
Oh, that's some
No.
good stuff too. Okay, that's really good stuff. Here's what we're going to do is we're going to break intimacy into 2 parts. Okay?
Okay.
How does that sound? All right, so what we're going to do is next week we're going to continue intimacy. All right, we're going to spend time in our homework. You got some homework coming to you. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that what I've done is I have a blog that I'm going to send you, and the title of it is called, I've retitled it, it's called Intimacy Interruptions. The blog is actually about technology and the loss of intimacy, but I've titled it Intimacy Interruptions because you have some homework at the bottom of the blog. After you read the article, I want you to make a list of 10 or more things. Make a list of as many things as you possibly can that have interrupted intimacy in your relationship. And then I want you to discuss the list with your spouse. And what I want you to do while you discuss the list is make your own list of boundaries that you're going to put into place to protect the intimacy in your marriage, in your relationships. That's one part of the homework. The second part of the homework is going to be a biblical understanding of intimacy in the marriage. All right. I think it's fitting that we continue intimacy next week because we'll spend a little bit of time. We're going to read a passage found out of 1 Corinthians 7. And this is that one where it says, man, you shouldn't be withholding sexual intimacy unless you're praying. Right? That's what it says. But I want you to focus.
I think a sick kid helps because you're praying if you got a sick kid, right?
Yeah, it counts. You're praying. I mean, there's times. But you're going to read the article. You're going to read the assignment. All right? And I'm going to go ahead and give it to you a little bit of it tonight. Here's what it said. You can read it yourself. The word is deprive. It comes from the original aposterio, and that's actually the original word for deprive, which means to defraud, rob, or steal. So according to these passages, rejecting or neglecting, all right, that means not allowing someone, your spouse, to be intimate with you or refraining from being intimate is the same. It's equal to stealing from your spouse. And, you know, I just want you to let that sit in. We're not perfect in this at all. We don't think that we've met anyone that is. And we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to pursue God's plan. So we're going to ask you in these questions on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very, very low, 10 being very, very high. How would you rate your intimacy in the marriage? Why do you rate it there? And then I want you to make a list of 3 things that you could practically do to move toward a 10 in the intimacy, right? All right, so what we'll do before we get off of here tonight is ask, are there any questions? I think there's just about a 30-second delay, but we'll give you a couple minutes to type a question if you're on the chat thing. If you're still hanging in.
So what will be next week?
Intimacy part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll just extend intimacy. I think some other topics that you can send us your topics. Some topics we're going to talk about are trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are going to talk about reading God's Word together as a spouse. That's a topic I want to touch on and teach you how to do that.
And parenting, definitely.
We definitely want to talk about parenting. I should probably write these down. Make sure I've got a list. So next week will be intimacy. Any questions? Still giving you just a minute to say those. Trust is going to be a topic. Reading Bible together. What'd you say? Parenting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send that link to some people once we finish that one. I got some friends that need it. That's not nice. Whatever. And I don't see any questions. Nobody's typing anything. Maybe there's a little delay, or there's not a delay. Maybe there aren't any questions. Maybe you just nailed it, baby. You nailed it. You did a great job on that one. Intimacy. That was really good. I like that. Okay, so you'll see the homework. It'll be placed on the Facebook page.
Yep.
Right?
And I'll send it out in email.
It'll also be sent out in an email. And it's 9:45. We finished it right on time.
All right.
We all good? Everybody's good? I'm going to say yes.
Everybody's good.
Any final thoughts?
If you have any questions, email them to me.
Email any questions you have to Beth.
I might not know the answer, but...
Our closing thoughts are this. We started this Finish the Marriage ministry because every marriage has a beginning, but not every marriage has a finish. And we want to help you finish the marriage the way God intended you to finish the marriage. Okay, everybody, have a great night. God bless.